good day and welcome once again. Today we're going to do something different. We're going to build some small cutting boards with some contrasting woods. The woods that we would be using is some maple, some African rosewood and some Imbuia wood. So the boards that I have is already planed and squared up. We can quickly have a look. The maple, it's a very light wood. It's got a reddish color here on the rosewood. And then the Imbuia is a very dark brown wood. So I think the three contrasting woods would look nice together in a cutting board. So let's start by cutting them into thinner strips and play around with some different layouts. So the design came out quite pleasing. So let's quickly start with the glue up. So for the glue up, I'm using normal white waterproof PVA glue. So before I start with the glue up, you need to ensure that all your clamps are adjusted to the correct length. I put 2 pieces of scrap wood on the beginning and at the end, so that it can protect your cutting board against the mouth of your clamps. So the glue is drying quite quickly, so always make sure you have everything ready. Have a drip tray for your glue on that. So yeah, let's start with the glue. always good to use as much clamps as possible to apply some even pressure on the wood joints. Pretty. So after the glue has dried and the excess glue has been scraped off, a few quick passes on the thicknesser should do the job. So it came out nice and smooth, and very little sanding left to do. So already out of the plane of the board is really smooth, and it just needs a little bit of sanding to get it properly smooth. So let's start off by perhaps 80 grit, and we will work it down up until a 240. So after the first sanding, when you finish with your 240, you just take a little bit of water, you spray it lightly with water, you rub it in. So now the wood grains will absorb the water, and as they absorb the water, they will swell a little bit, they will lift up, and the whole surface, actually you can start feeling it already, will feel rough again. So when it's dry now, you sand it again. So what that will help with is the first time when you wash the board after you've used it, it will feel rough. But if you do this and you follow this method, after the first wash, the board will still feel silky smooth. I think we're going to try something different today. So let's try to put some feet. I've got a little bit of this maple left. So let's put some feet at the bottom. Let's route a few grooves on the inside. And we put some nice feet on the inside and see how that comes out. So when you are cutting a groove against the grain on your router table, one thing to be cautious of, when your router bit enters the wood or it exits the wood on the other side, normally you will have some tear out on the side. So it's a good idea to put a bit of a sacrificial strip on the side, so that you have your chipping on the sacrificial strip, and when you're done with all your routing, you remove that strips again. So you can just take a small piece of hardwood offcut. It doesn't matter what kind of wood, it just must just be quite a hardwood. Then you would glue it on the edge of your cutting board like this, and then you cut your groove. When you're done, you take your table saw and you cut it off again. So with most of the sanding completed, it's time to decide how we want to finish the board. So What do we still need to do on the board? We can put on some edges. Why is the edges important? This board is about 20 millimeters thick. What would happen is if the board is not sealed properly, water will penetrate on your working surface on your board, or when you wash the board, and there's a possibility that this board can create a little bit of a wobble. Normally it goes away when the board dries, but ultimately you want to prevent that from happening. So before we start with the glue up of the sacrificial strips on the side, let's decide how far we want the support from the side. I think 30 millimeters would be a good distance. So this would be the beginning of the groove that we're routing in. Let's just mark the other side as well. So our groove will start from this side, and we will put a small piece of maple in to support the warping of the board like that. So it's a good thing to remove any excess glue before it dries. It's always easier to clean it while it's wet, up until waiting when it's dry. So I just use a small scraper to remove all the excess glue. So the sacrificial pieces are dried here on the side. So let's start by cutting the groove in for the support feet. As you can see over here, we had a little bit of tear out, so luckily we had the sacrificial strips on here to prevent any damage on our board. So let's move to the miter saw and let's start cutting the feet. So the slats, let's see how they fit. They are just a little bit too wide, so we just need to take a little bit off of the edge, and we're going to use a hand plane to remove that. So let's see how it fits. That's about perfect. So what is important when you do hand planing, always look what direction your grain is running in your wood. So your grain is running upwards, so it's always the best to start your planing from this direction. If you do it from the other side, your blade will bite into your wood and you won't get a smooth finish. So both of the feet are fitting in perfectly, nice tight into your slot. Must not be too tight, otherwise if you put in your glue, the wood would swell and you would struggle to get your support feet in. So to put a nice finish on the feet, we can cut a small 45 bevel on the edges to give it a nice smooth finish. So to cut the chamfer on the feet, I'm going to use a 45 chamfering tool. So for safe cutting with the router, if you cut small pieces, it's always good to put up a small fence for your router to keep your hands clear of your router bits. So now that the sacrificial pieces is off, we can cut the bevel on the edge here. So now the feet is cut to length. They are fitting really nice in the slots. The next thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut the juice groove on the edge. So this will prevent any liquid or blood when you're busy cutting meat or some vegetables on this board, that it does not run onto your kitchen counter. So it will be contained by the groove, and when you're done cutting, you can just go and rinse it off underneath the water. So I'm done with all the feet. You see I've put a nice 45 degree. It's running the same angle as this chamfer that I've put you on the side. So now we just have to glue this in. The juice groove is in. So it needs some final sanding, and then we can decide if we want to put in some handles. I've got two options, either stainless steel, small stainless steel cupboard handle, or a small rope handle. It's always a good idea to clean as much of the glue push-out up when the glue is still wet, especially in some fine corners like this. So I've decided to go for the stainless steel handles on the sides. We're going to mount them like this. So the easiest way to do that is you take the screws. I've already removed the heads. So the Phillips head that's on there, you just saw it off, and then you sharpen this end of the screw. So the easiest way to sharpen it is I take my my drill. So I've put this in my drill like this. So you just take a bit of super glue, put it on the end. take some activator. So to add to the handle, you just, I'm gonna just do it here with the eye. You line it on the board and you put some pressure on it, and there's your 2 holes where you must drill. So this is the M4 screw, and the holes I'm drilling is 3.5 millimeters, so it will be quite a tight fit. Take again a little bit of super glue, just a drop or two on the inside. Some glue on the screw. Just wipe off all the excess. And just take a mallet and so now it's a little bit of final sanding, and then we can put the oil and beeswax finish on it. So now we're done with the final sanding. So the next step is to put my maker's mark on the board. So I've got a burning iron like this, but I'm heating up with a little propane torch. So then I'll put the maker's mark in this area over here. So then the final sealing of the board, that happens with, it's a mixture of mineral oil, liquid paraffin and beeswax. So the ratio is 1 part of beeswax to 4 parts of liquid paraffin. Look at all the natural oil that's coming out of the wood. This last part is definitely my favorite. So as soon as you put the beeswax and the mineral oil on it, you will see the wood come alive, and all the natural colors of the wood would start coming out. So let's start putting on the finish. So this is the mixture of liquid paraffin and beeswax. It's like a soft paste. You rub this in as much as you can, and you can do that for a day or 2 or 3 in a row, so that the board soak up all the oil, and the beeswax will leave a protective layer on top of the cutting board. So the board is finished now. Look at this beautiful finish. Now the colors comes out. So all this board needs now is a nice thick piece of steak. So yeah, this was another fun project. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you with the next small project that we are doing. So just maybe some background. The total build time for a board of this like this is let's say maybe 5 or 6 hours. Split over 2 days, so you will wait for the glue to dry overnight, and then you can continue the next day. So it's really not a really expensive or a big project, and you also don't need a lot of power tools. I'm lucky to have a lot of power tools, but you can just do it as good as with hand tools as well. So thanks for watching, and I see you on the next project.